Welcome to the midnight broadcast of Sinister Words, where we reach into the dark depths of your soul and pull it inside out. As always, I am your host, the Jaundiced Narrator. Humanity likes to think that it's explored every inch of the planet's surface, but there are still some places and some forms of life we have yet to unearth. Some of these are better off not being found, and some of them have yet to find us. In tonight's tale of the macabre, bear witness as a group of friends learn their true place on the food chain. Lay down, close your eyes, open your ears, and listen to Night of the Burrowing Horrors. As the group of friends arrived at the campsite, they were excited to spend the weekend in the great outdoors. They had been planning this trip for months, and had carefully chosen a remote location that promised peace and quiet. There was Tom, the group's leader, who was an avid outdoorsman and had organized the trip. He was joined by his childhood friend Sarah, who had a love for nature and was always up for an adventure. Mark, the comedian of the group, was there to keep everyone laughing, and he brought his guitar to entertain them around the campfire. They were also joined by Mike, the quiet one of the group, who had a deep appreciation for the beauty of nature. And finally, there was Jen, the youngest of the group, who was eager to prove herself to her older friends. As they set up their tents and gathered firewood, they couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and freedom. The world around them was vast and beautiful, and they were ready to explore it. However, as they sat around the campfire roasting marshmallows, they heard strange noises coming from beneath the ground. At first, they thought it was just some small animals digging, but as the noises grew louder and the ground started to shake, they knew something was wrong. Suddenly, the earth began to split open, and giant earthworms the size of tree trunks emerged from the ground. The group of friends tried to run, but it was no use. The earthworms were too fast, and they began to chase after them. The earthworms had sharp, gnashing teeth that glimmered in the moonlight, and they were hungry for human flesh. Mark, who had been the life of the party, was the first to fall victim to the giant earthworms. He had been playing his guitar when one of the massive creatures burst out of the ground beneath him. Before he could react, the earthworm had coiled around him, its teeth sinking into his flesh. Mark screamed and tried to fight back, but it was no use. The earthworm dragged him beneath the ground, disappearing into its burrow, with only the sound of Mark's screams echoing through the campsite. The remaining friends watched in horror, frozen in fear, as they realized the gravity of the situation they were now in. One by one, the friends were caught and devoured by the giant earthworms. They screamed and pleaded for mercy, but the earthworms showed none. Tom managed to escape to safety, but he was forever traumatized by the horror he witnessed that night. The townspeople heard of the strange occurrences and sent a team to investigate. They discovered that the campsite had been built on top of a nest of giant earthworms that had been disturbed by the construction. They had grown angry and were now wreaking havoc on anyone who dared enter their territory. The townspeople attempted to exterminate the giant earthworms, but they soon realized that it was a futile effort. The earthworms were too powerful, and they continued to terrorize anyone who came near. The townspeople eventually decided to abandon the area and let the earthworms have their territory. To this day, the giant earthworms remain a legend, a reminder of the horrors that can be unleashed when man disturbs the natural world. And the memory of Mark's screams still echoes in the minds of those who were unfortunate enough to witness the terror that unfolded that night. Well, that was quite a harrowing tale. I suppose there was a lesson to be learned, though. Don't tread on the little creatures, for they might just have large relatives. Apologies, dear listener, for any difficulty you may find sleeping tonight after hearing Night of the Burrowing Horrors. This has been another midnight broadcast of Sinister Words.